everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cryptocurrent. Your host here, Richard Carthon. And today I got a very special guest. We have Jack with Wire. How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing well. Nice to meet you, Richard.
Great to meet you as well. I know that y'all have been very busy. Right now, crypto is booming. A lot of great things happening. I'm excited to learn more about your company. But before we dive into that, first I want to learn a little bit about you. Can you give us some background?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jack. I am currently the VP of Business at Wire. I was actually the first employee. We started in 2013, so we've been kind of around for 7-8 years now. And yeah, before that, I went to UC Berkeley. I had studied economics and finance there, and so I understood a lot about just economic backgrounds in terms of framework. So when I first heard about Bitcoin, I just kind of switched right into it and working full time professionally. But there was like a 3-year period between kind of college and Bitcoin that I did other stuff in Internet of Things, as far as hydraulic equipments and kind of creating this smart hydraulic pump that used AI and ML to tell the equipment operator what's wrong with the equipment, right? And yeah, so it was fun to kind of do stuff like that, but it definitely found my calling when I first learned about Bitcoin, which was in the middle of the bull run in 2013. I think it was toward October is when I first heard about it, and then by December I'm working at Wire basically as first employee. So
I mean, pretty amazing that you learned about it so quickly all the way back in 2013, and that the fact that Wire's been around that long. So you've been in the industry for 7-8 years roughly. And you've been growing and seeing how everything has been adopting and adapting. And it sounds like you basically been able to build a product to meet the needs of currently like what's going on. So can you first explain, what is Wire and, what exactly y'all solve?
Yeah. So, Wire is now basically a payment API, kind of like Stripe, or a banking as a service API that is crypto compatible, right? So a lot of different teams come to Wire in different applications in this space when they need to do any fiat on and off ramp for their users, right? If a user wants to go from US dollar to a stablecoin or Bitcoin, right? Wire is basically this API that helps different teams and their end users to basically come onto the blockchain and get off of the blockchain, which we call fiat on and off ramps. And yeah, so we service 250 plus platforms currently that use our platform for things like payment collection, payment disbursements, FX, wallet managements, and kind of like a full stack banking service API, except it's, we're not having our partners pay $20,000 a month in licensing fees for that, right? We're trying to lower the barrier of entry for other fintech entrepreneurs to be able to get into the space and iterate and build things fast, and so that we're trying to remove all the barriers up front so that any team can come and just take our API and start building products right away. And I think that'll help with adoption, help with, just different entrepreneurs that are trying different things, who are passionate about crypto.
Absolutely. And, we talk about mass adoption a lot here. And one of the barriers to entry for a lot of companies who come up with these concepts is being able to come to market, to get to market fast, right? Usually you have to spend a lot of time to build, to be able to move quickly. And it sounds like Wire is able to help you get up and running a lot faster and able to start collecting. So for the listener out there that either has a crypto business or knows someone that's in it and trying to figure out how they can, utilize Wire, take me through a use case of how that would work.
Yeah. So let's say, you're a college student that has some friends and you are tinkering with blockchain or crypto and hey, what is this thing? This is very cool. You want to get into the space. And you learn Solidity, let's say, and you've been coding on some smart contracts and doing different things, and you realize, hey, how do we actually onboard a user from the real world onto our crypto native application, right? You will come to Wire, right? You can create a production account with us, onboard with us as a partner, right? You and your friends might be able to form like a company now and actually onboard as a business, right? We'll give you API keys. You'll be able to play within the test environments and just start building different payment flows from, fiat to crypto to fiat. There's so many different use cases that Wire's API can service. It really depends on what our partners are building, right? And so our new kind of, our vision statement is we help other teams to build out their visions, right? And we just provide the underlying infrastructure in the traditional fiat world as well as, this agnostic blockchain infrastructure where, so far we've only supported Bitcoin and Ethereum. And recently we started supporting Stellar because the gas fees got a little bit high for stablecoins, and USDC is moving to Stellar, so we'll be going there as well, right? But, point being that we are blockchain agnostic, but so far we've been concentrating our focus and liquidity around Bitcoin, Ethereum, ERC20 tokens, and recently Stellar.
Yeah, I mean that's a really interesting point. I want to stay on that topic right there for a second, simply because gas fees have been eating people up. They've actually been getting pretty absurd, and I think it's making a lot of people upset. And one of the ways that is kind of curing that are some of these, alternatives to like an Ethereum, whether it's a stable coin or whether, it's a Stellar or some of these other platforms. How does either Wire help address that, or where do you think the industry is going to help address that particular issue?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's obviously a macro development, and people like, teams like Wire are all part of the same kind of cycle right now, right? And when you're in a bull run, you're going to see this. At some point, we're going to go up to $50, $100 per transaction, gas fee, miner fees. That happened in 2017. This is not uncommon, right? But for actual utility of any dApps or payment flows, obviously that becomes crazy, right? Like, I mean, we were trying to get away from the incumbents in terms of Visa, Master, or banking systems where these traditional payment networks, charge a fee, right? And now you have a blockchain network that charges even more fees, and
a super surcharge.
Right. So you definitely have this situation where high demand causes high fees. Well, how do you get around that? You can go vertically through, ETH2 or layer 2. You can go horizontal through, Avalanche or Near or Celo and all these other ETH killer chains that have a bridge over Ethereum, and the tokens kind of become transmutable, right? So you have USDT on Omni, USDT on Tron, USDT on ETH, USDT on another chain, and that token itself is transmutable in such a way that it can go across different blockchains or side chains or layer 2 solutions, right? So I think that's good. This is all just with this ecosystem feedback. We're working with each other to figure it out, solving one problem after the next. And these are all good problems, right? It's great to have high demand. That's to why the fees are high. So, yeah.
No doubt. And, it's interesting that people are having to find more and more unique ways to make things more affordable and lower their costs to be able to engage, right? So as you said, through each bull run, and I think, we're in the middle of a really nice one for everyone listening at the time of this recording. Recently, Elon Musk has come out and talked about how they just invested 1.5 billion into the billion Bitcoin, and how a lot of other large companies are beginning to talk and speculate about also increasing their position in Bitcoin and greater crypto, which I think is a tall tale signal that we're heading to a larger bull run for the rest of this year. Where do you think, or how do you think Wire's uniquely positioned to help companies during this gigantic potential new amount of people and money that's going to flow into this industry?
Yeah. So, I think on the corporate or the enterprise and institutional side of the business, there are very standard best practices for that. And it's basically called OTC trading, right? So if a corporate's that has, $1 billion cash on hand, they want to convert 5% to Bitcoin, they need to buy $50 million with Bitcoin. You're not going to do that with a credit card, right? You're dealing with accounting departments and different finance departments. And obviously there's a top-down mandate to do this, that there's already a go-ahead. So it's a very concierge service in terms of best pricing and execution across different exchanges, but that's on the OTC desk's backend, right? To be able to provide really good pricing at very low slippage for this corporate treasury to be able to take out that execution and trade. But once they book the trade, and they send this $50 million wire transfer, at the settlement layer, it comes with this question of custody. Right? And who's the custodian? Are you doing self-custody? Were you setting up your own setup with hardware security modules and MPC setups? Or are you trusting a custodian like Coinbase Custody, Gemini Custody, whichever custodian out there that can hold funds for you? And so Wire has a solution for this as well. We have a dashboard for corporates to easily come, use email and password and 2FA to secure an account, right? Our approach is we think it's still a bit early for most people to figure out how to hold their own private keys in a secure manner. And so what we've done is basically we created what looks like a Web2 login, with email, phone number, password. And we are the custodian, we're a custodial wallet, right? So we can help you to execute and we can help you to hold some Bitcoin that you buy for your company, right? And then the good thing about using Wire's kind of treasury management solution is you can also do other things once you buy and hold, right? So you trade and you custody, so you buy and hold. After you hold, you can also earn some interest with us. We have a savings wallet where you can put the Bitcoin that you just bought into this savings wallet that earns interest while you're holding, right? So because and these are different features that I think in the past few years have kind of come into the market, where it's enterprise grade solutions, right? We didn't have this in 2013, right? Yeah. We didn't have it in 2015 even, right? And enterprise blockchain in 2015 meant something very different than what it means now. Back in the days, all the different teams basically set up everything in-house, right? So now you have something like a Curve or Anchorage that gives you the MPC or HSM setups, right? But before, Coinbase built their own. They built their own cold storage, warm and hot wallets, and that's what inevitably became Coinbase custody. But it's something where because Wire was founded in 2013 as well, we have all of that stuff kind of built out in-house as well, and we're just trying to offer it to developers and to corporates in an easy to use interface, whether that means dashboard or API.
Right. And I think what's smart about that, again, is meeting people where they are. So creating functionality and user-facing capabilities that they're already familiar with so that they can start using this new technology, right? Start using some of this Web3, some of this blockchains, and be able to start collecting their money. And like you said, operate their businesses. So, I think that's really cool. I think what y'all working on is, very timely. And obviously, I'm sure it's keeping you extremely busy, like you were telling me before you got on the show. It's a good time to be in biz.
Yeah, I mean, there's this macro inflection within the kind of financial ecosystem of the world, right? There's the Office of Currency Control allows banks to hold Bitcoin and stablecoins and use public blockchain networks. China is creating their own digital currency electronic payment system, and we're at this point right now where I think whether it's banking or payments or FX or any of the traditional finance, securitization and how do you trade different securities. And there's so many different areas of finance that's being disrupted by this technology. And there are, a handful of companies that are, at that inflection point. Wire, I would argue, is one of them. There are other companies. Circle, is doing great work. And there's so many different teams that are tackling the problem from different angles, and it all kind of comes back to adoption, right? Are you, helping someone to buy Bitcoin through an ATM, through some kind of cash point, and through Apple Pay, Google Pay, through Visa and Master, through you apply with your ACH and your bank account or wire transfer, anything from retail to institutional. Everyone it's a one-way street, right? So you're trying to onboard the world, and a lot of teams are tackling this, and it's very exciting times. And we're in 2013 and 2017, now 2021, and it's very, very awesome.
No doubt. And on that subject, I just kind of want to go in a different direction. Is you've been in this space since 2013. Obviously, you basically have 8 years under your belt, and you've seen ebbs and flows. And there's a lot that's going on, of course, with a big year of 2020 with COVID and everything else going on. It's kind of foundationally changed how we view economics throughout the world, and even with the U.S. currently having to print a lot of money for stimulus, the rest of the world doing that as well. I read today that Bitcoin right now, from a currency standpoint, is the 15th most valuable currency in the world, and that's at like a $1.3 trillion market cap. I think crypto could easily get to 2 trillion, if not more, and continue to skyrocket in a very substantial way. Where do you think, as an industry, as cryptocurrency, as it continues to evolve, where do you think we're headed? And let's just start with like the next year, and then let's talk about the next decade.
Yeah. I mean, just taking a step back, right? You have this kind of almost mathematically determined bull run followed by a few years of bear market and a bull run. And all historical data says that that's going to keep on happening. I don't see any data that shows otherwise, right? We went from like $1 to 1,200 in 2013. We went from, 400 to 20,000 in 2017. And we're going from like 10K to what looks to be above 100K by the end of the year. And that's just adoption. We're just going, we're going from like 2% adoption to 4% to 6% of the world are becoming active users, right? It's like the 70s right now, if you will, for internet. Yeah. So, and people argue it's the 90s or whatever. Like I would argue it's the 70s or maybe 80s. But it's definitely very early. And this next year is simply going to be a bull run, right? We're going to go into 2022. Tim Draper back in 2018, I believe, predicted that Bitcoin was going to be trading at $250,000 by 2022. That was his prediction. Some more conservative estimates are around 120K. But I mean, that kind of that Bitcoin, being king, that rises all the tides. While there's, there's technical development from all these different chain technologies. Avalanche is doing pretty well right now, and they went from like $2 to $60 in a matter of a month and a half.
Yeah,
right. That's great. But that's what happens in a bull run, right? And so that's this next year. So if you think about it, it's 2013, 2017, 2021, 2025, 2029, 2033, right? So we're approaching this point where a SAT or a bit is going to equal $1, and $100 million per Bitcoin is, that's my personal stance in terms of, being bullish on Bitcoin. I'm looking at everything agnostically, looking at every chain for what it is in and of itself. And it's anyone's game, but DeFi is coming. DeFi, is already here very much. DeFi has Cash 22 in that, there's no KYC for
right.
like DeFi, and that's the whole point of DeFi. But then for institutions, how can they enter DeFi compliantly? That problem is an existential problem that has persisted since the beginning of DeFi. It's a philosophical debate. It's a compliance legal debate. And it's also a commercial problem that different teams are taking different angles at solving, right? And everything is just being tokenized onto Bitcoin, onto the blockchain, onto Ethereum with all these different use cases that Ethereum can service. But yeah, I mean, there's only so much asset in the world, and as it transfers over onto the blockchain, whether in the form of Bitcoin or DeFi or stablecoins, or securities, or other asset classes, right? It's that's just going to keep on happening, right? VCs are pouring money in, retail is pouring money in, right? Crowdsourced, crowdfunding, ICOs, right? And the equivalent of that right now is obviously yield farming, where they're just copy pasting different protocols to earn tokens on this new protocol. It looks awfully like ICO 2017, but you know what? It brings capital into the space, and it allows people to try things to see what works and sticks, and that feedback loop and in that macro ecosystem is a net positive, right? All in all. So yeah, so you just gotta keep going, I guess.
No
I'm
doubt.
not sure if I answered, but yeah.
No. That definitely answered. I mean, it just talks about all the cycles that is, crypto. I mean, you've been in a lot of them, right? You hear about these stories where people talk about, the bull run of like 2013, it went up a couple $100 or whatever, got to 1,000 first time, then it dipped right back down to like 3. And then next thing it shot back up. And it's like, I tell people that yes, it's a high risk environment that crypto is, but when you look at it over time, it currently wins. If you dollar cost average, if you stay for the long game, if you do all these things, typically over time, you do well. And I think too many people, especially with everything going on with the stock market, you have a lot of people who have a lot more time and they're on like Robinhood and some of these other ones where they're like doing like day trading and they're like making some good money here or there and whatnot. And where I think a lot, and there's a lot of money to be made in that, but I also think, you can do the same thing in crypto, but I think there's more money to be made if you're playing the long game in crypto. Your returns are just going to be substantially greater. Because if you go back in history at any point and you pretty much use any kind of strategy, and if you would have held on till this point, you would be up tremendously. Yeah. And so what's your kind of take on whether you're trying to like be in and out of the market or like playing the long game? Like, how do you feel about that?
You have to know yourself, right? Or if you're not a trader yesterday, you're not a trader today. Right? And there's a difference between trading and investing, right? Trading is a day in, day out thing. There's technical charts, it's controlling your emotions, it's experience, it's having having an approach, right? And different traders have different approaches that they like to implement, and they're all relatively successful, by and large, in their own strategies, right? And that's a completely different beast than investing, right? Investing is long-term outlook. Right? Do you believe in this company? Do you believe in this asset, right? And that's why for me it was like, I was working in like IoT or ML and doing like more hydraulic and mechanical engineering stuff. And I was, kind of CFO and COO of my own kind of startup when I found out about Bitcoin, right? I literally dropped everything and I came onto this ship because I believed in it so much. I put myself into that in 2013, right? So in the same way as you're investing, if you think that, hey, I think this is a great technology. I understand it. I intrinsically or intuitively understand why there's value in this thing, right? And then you just, like you're saying, put some skin in the game and set it and forget it. You're not a trader, right? You have to humbly know that, right? Like a lot of people get caught up and they see their portfolio go up 200% and they think they're a genius. And it's like, well, that was luck, right? You don't know how to trade. You don't know what technical analysis is. Or you didn't do your homework. You just got lucky, right? You should know that. I'm not, saying anything bad about you. I'm just saying that it is what it is, right? And so just know the difference between investment and trading. And if you really want to get into it, full-time working, if you're working at a company right now where you have certain skill set, that's very much translatable into crypto, by all means, jump into, start a career. I don't think there's a better time than now to get into crypto from every angle, whether it's your career, whether it's buying some crypto, whether it's just learning more about it.
No doubt. I think that's great advice. And, our audience ranges from your brand new newbie that's trying to learn how to get involved in the space to your crypto OG who's just trying to learn about new and emerging companies and what's going on in the space. This question is just specifically to that newbie. Like they're on the hype train. They're trying to learn about crypto right now. If you could go all the way back and give yourself advice when you first started, what would be like some first steps or things that you wish you knew ahead of time?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, so we just talked about, not selling, right? And not trading. You end up with less. Right? That hurts. That's one. I think that's the big one. I think that really is the big one because, when you first get in, it's basically through investing because right now, that's the main use case is speculation, right? You're starting to see other use cases like payments, remittance, FX, and other, DeFi use cases for borrowing money and different things. But that's still very much early compared to traditional payment rails, traditional payment networks that are being used, 1,000 to 1 in terms of ratio. So most people are coming into crypto basically seeing it as a new kind of investment class, right? And so the first rule of thumb is just invest, buy and hold, right? Buy and just see what happens until 2025, right? And give it to somebody else or something. But let your wife hold it or somebody you trust, not take it away from because you get caught up in your emotions, right? Like I had no experience trading. And I would FOMO, I would FUD, I would, get scared. There would be fear. There will be, doubts, and I will do stupid things. And now I have a lot less Bitcoin than I did, right? And I'm sharing that story humbly to say, hey, it is what it is. And I am not one of those Bitcoin millionaires, right? And I'm just full-time employee at Wire here. But I could have been, a lot of people could have been if you just bought and hold, right? Knowing that, hey, people think it's already too late, right? When it's $500 too late, $5,000 too late, $50,000 too late. Like, well, if you look at where things are going, this is going to 250, 500K, a million, 10 million, 100 million. You're gonna have what happens when one Bitcoin costs $100 million and you bought, one for 50K? Like, what is 50K to $100 million per Bitcoin? And so if you really understand that, if you look at the historical data and how things move throughout time, like I'm saying, it's almost mathematically determined by the halving and the supply and the adoption that causes the price to go up, right? And number go up. There's a reason why these memes exist. Number go up because it does. It really does. Yeah. So just buy and hold. Find a secure, custodial setup. If you understand non-custodial setup, go to Casa Bitcoin wallet, go to Exodus wallet, BRD wallet. Right? There's all these different non-custodial wallets, self-custody wallets where you hold your own private keys. And there's custodians like Coinbase, right? You trust somebody else to hold your coins. It's one of the two, right? So just educate yourself. Really get some skin in the game and just educate yourself.
I think that is absolute great advice. Thank you for doing all that. And, I think you've dropped a lot of great knowledge on us here today. As we wrap up, what is a final thought that you want to leave with all of our listeners here today?
Yeah. It's a generational play. I think crypto is here to stay. It's already proven that. Even banks and governments are getting involved now. It's not like 2015, 2017 even. The institutionalization of crypto it's been progressively happening. And right now it has never been in a world where all the family offices, high net wealth individuals, and all the corporates and different enterprises are even getting into this. And so it's only going to be more and more of this, right? So I think, just be patient, try to enjoy the ride and educate yourself and hold your coins properly. And just be strap on for the ride. It's going to be a crypto world.
It's going to be amazing. Thank you so much for that final thought. And thanks again for spending some time with us today. What are some ways that people can connect with you and also learn more about Wyre? Yeah,
so you can find us on Twitter at Sendwyre, right? That's SEND, like send, like receive, Wyre with a Y, because we're Silicon Valley and you change the letter and it's like Lyft with a Y and now you're a company. So wire transfer, right? So FX and payments. But so Sendwyre. You can also follow me on Twitter. My handle is demonopolize. It's with a Z. Decentralized, demonopolized. Yeah. So that's me. Yeah.
Like it. Awesome. Well, again, Jack, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. And for everyone listening, stay cryptocurrent. Today's podcast is brought to you by Tantra Labs, where you can earn 12% in Bitcoin and Ethereum yearly. Tantra Labs is a team of researchers, engineers, and data scientists, economists, and optimists whose primary focus is in Bitcoin, which they believe will usher in a more prosperous future built on sound money. They offer real-time loan tracking, fast automated onboarding, 100% payment history, and multi-sig storage. And again, you will get 12% APY on the crypto that you loan. Tantra Labs is taking on international clients as well as clients in the US, except for the state of New York. For more information, please go to tantralabs.io. Again, that's tantralabs.io.